Welcome to the Battle of the Conferences. Ever wondered which conference can put together the best NFL roster? That's what we're going to find out. We take the best players from every team in each conference, build an NFL roster, and pit those teams against each other in a bracket format. The last conference standing will be crowned champion, which means absolutely nothing. Let the battle begin. So we kick this off with Mountain West versus the ACC. Now a quick thing to say with these two conferences, we've got BYU in Mountain West and Notre Dame in the ACC, so that's their non-football conferences. They are in the Independence Conference, however, the Independents can't field an entire team, therefore wouldn't go in this process, and to lose Notre Dame and BYU would be a shame. It just makes the ACC a little bit stronger and gives Mountain West a fighting chance. Now how this works is very simple. We go through position groups and basically score them on that. So if one team has a better offensive line than the other, they get a point. Whoever has the most points by the end of this wins. It's pretty simple. And without further ado, let's get into it. We start with the quarterbacks here for these two teams. And for Mountain West, we have Derek Carr out of Fresno State, Colin Kaepernick out of Nevada, and Kellen Moore from Boise State versus the ACC's Matt Ryan, the MVP from Boston College, Phillip Rivers from NC State, and Jameis Winston out of FSU. Now, Mountain West puts up a pretty good fight there. However, it's quite overwhelmingly clear that ACC takes the point in this one. They get the quarterbacks. So next up, the running backs, and now Mountain West comes in strong here, primarily off Boise State's back. Jay Ajayi we've got Doug Martin, also out of Boise State, then Ryan Matthews out of Fresno State. However, the ACC showing off again. LaShawn McCoy out of Pitt, Devonta Freeman out of FSU, Frank Gore from the University of Miami, and below him we can just see the top of his head, Lamar Miller as well. Again, another point here going to the ACC. So next up we have the fullbacks, and Mountain West finally takes one here. Keith Smith out of San Jose State going over Nikita Whitlock from Wake Forest. So Mountain West take the fullback round, they get a point. Then we move on to the tight end position, and the ACC, I don't think we're going to see a stronger tight end producing conference than this one. We've got Jimmy Graham out of Miami, Tyler Eifert out of Notre Dame, Greg Olsen out of Miami, and Kyle Rudolph we can see there at the bottom with the fullbacks, also out of Notre Dame. Too many to even include. We still had guys like Dwayne Allen out of Clemson, and Mountain West puts forward a decent group. Dennis Pitter out of BYU, Virgil Green out of Nevada, and Crockett Gilmore out of Colorado State. But the point here clearly again goes to the ACC. So then from the tight ends we move on to the wide receivers. Mountain West starts pretty good with Devontae Adams out of Fresno State, Isaiah Burst there as well, and then on the other side Rashad Matthews out of Nevada. However, the ACC, DeAndre Hopkins and Sammy Watkins out of Clemson, Jamison Crowder out of Duke, Larry Fitzgerald out of Pitt, Golden Tate, Notre Dame, and Demarius Thomas out of Georgia Tech. There's still plenty more receivers that couldn't even fit here anymore. The point undoubtedly here again goes to the ACC. And then finally onto the final offensive group, the offensive line, and Mountain West did okay in some position. We got Donald Penn out of Utah State and Charles Leonard Jr. out of Boise State at the left tackle position, Joel Bitonio out of Nevada, Matt Paradis out of Boise State, behind him Weston Richburg out of Colorado State, and behind them Joe Hawley out of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, right guard Reese Odiambo out of Boise State, and then right tackle DeAndre Wesley out of BYU. So the right side really gets weaker, but it doesn't even matter because the ACC here doesn't just have an incredible starting offensive line, has ridiculous depth as well. We got Anthony Costanzo out of Boston College, we got Joe Tooney out of NC State, Rodney Hudson out of FSU, Zach Martin out of Notre Dame, and Morgan Moses out of Virginia, helping that right tackle spot out there. And the depth behind it still also very, very good. The point again here goes to the ACC, and they almost sweep Mountain West. Didn't get that fullback point though. So with that, we move on to the defense, and we start with the defensive line. And Mountain West here, thanks to BYU, can put Ezekiel Anza on the field, Tyrone Crawford at defensive tackle out of Boise State, and from the same college, DeMarcus Lawrence. And we've got Mitch Unrein down there out of Wyoming as well. But the ACC, again, here just making him look ridiculous. Olivier Vernon out of Miami. We've got Aaron Donald out of Pitt, Vic Beasley out of Clemson. Behind them, a bunch of guys, Ian Calais Campbell out of Miami, Stephon Tuitt out of Notre Dame, Grady Jarrett out of Clemson, Robert Quinn from North Carolina. The point here goes to the ACC for the defensive line. So with only 4 position groups left, the ACC has already taken the victory here. Impossible for Mountain West to win. However, they have a shot here at the inside linebacker position thanks to Bobby Wagner out of Utah State, Brandon Marshall out of Nevada, and Josh Mauger as well. And they go up against Luke Kuechly and Lawrence Timmons, and I've got to give it here to Mountain West. Luke Kuechly I'd like to take over most people. However, because it's Lawrence Timmons versus Brandon Marshall and Josh Mauger, we give it here to Mountain West, and they pick up their second point, and this is only because we are counting Zach Brown as an outside linebacker, even though he is an inside linebacker. Next up at the outside linebackers, Mountain West never really stood a chance. Shea McClellan out of Boise State and Shaquille Barrett out of Colorado State, their main outside linebackers. And then the ACC comes in with Zach Brown out of North Carolina, Chandler Jones out of Syracuse, Willie Young out of NC State, Nigel Bradham out of FSU, Telvin Smith out of FSU, and then Derek Morgan out of Georgia Tech. They can play a 3-4, they can play a 4-3. It's irrelevant with these linebackers. Point, of course, here goes to the ACC. So our second to last group are the cornerbacks. Mountain West not doing too badly thanks to Boise State with Orlando Scandrick and Jamar Taylor. Then behind them, I didn't put these in any specific order outside of alphabetically going through the colleges. Leon McFadden out of San Diego State, Nevin Lawson out of Utah State, and Benny Benwickery out of San Jose State. However, the ACC being powered here primarily by FSU, when they could have had plenty of other players from plenty of other schools in here as well. It was just that good. Xavier Rhodes, Jalen Ramsey, Lamarcus Joyner, and Ronald Darby out of FSU. Byron Maxwell finishes it off out of Clemson. This group clearly just better than Mountain West, and they take another point. And now for the final position group, and if we split these into two, I think Mountain West could even take a win here, but we look at the safeties as one group. Let's take a look at Mountain West here, first with the free safety position. We got Glover Quinn out of New Mexico, Maurice Alexander under him out of Utah State, Tashawn Gibson out of Wyoming, and then under the strong safeties, because we were running out of space, Daniel Sorensen out of BYU. The strong safeties, George Iloka, we could switch over there, of course, Chris Prasinski out of Wyoming as well. But then comes along the ACC, and they give us Harrison Smith out of Notre Dame, Will Blackman out of Boston College, Marcus Gilchrist out of Clemson, finishing off the free safeties. And then at the strong safety position, Virginia Tech gives us Cam Chancellor, Georgia Tech gives us Morgan Burnett, and we have Calvin Pryor out of Louisville. Another win for the ACC here, a final point for them, and they take this one. They drop only 2 points, and they are our first winner in this bracket. They win 9-2. The reason we don't have kickers or punters is because it would make it a 12th category, therefore we'd have an even number, and we could have ties. That's not good enough, so we only have the 11. Our first winner here is the ACC. They beat out Mountain West. So the ACC are the first team to advance. They face either the AAC or the Big Ten, and next up we look at the Conference USA versus Pac-12.